said
now
6.
we're starting. Now we're starting. The one thing I forgot. Restart.
Over under was 6.
Over under was.
Okay, well, thanks, Sean, appreciate your summary of that, that's good. Good all around, a lot of stuff happening. It's kind of interesting when we were talking the Lego League, there's so much going on at the elementary that you almost need like a calendar for when you can meet with Lego League, because there's so much other stuff going on, so.
A lot of opportunities for the
Yeah.
kids. A lot of.
Which is good. Okay, so we'll move on to the personnel resignations.
I have one question before we move on. Conferences last week, have you guys talked about those, how you felt like they went?
So Dan and I have briefly recapped those, and I think that's one of the big things that we're going to really try to work on through our SIAC committee this year, is digging into getting parents involved in that, questioning like, you know, we know how this works. Is there a better way we can do this? Is there a better way that we can get more parents to attend or be involved? Are there certain things that they would like to see beyond just, you know, sitting and talking with the teacher? Is that, you know, having more career-related stuff or activities in the spring or those types of things? So we're working on getting some agendas put together, and then how we're going to seek that feedback from parents and then staff and stuff as well.
So do they always have like it in one big, in the commons?
Pretty much. That's the way it was since I've been here. Yeah.
It used to be in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like it was like, I just walked by and noticed it, and I was like, that seems like really cramped quarters and not very personal, so.
Yeah.
I think
There's a lot that could be improved.
part of the reason
Yeah, I
was
think-
just that the low numbers of parents who would show up, so you didn't need a huge space because you weren't really overly crowded most of the time.
I know that's one of the things that Dan and I both talked about. With him being from Grundy Center, that was one of the things that was new for me in Grundy Center when I got there. In the middle school, high school building, every single student has their conference scheduled by the secretaries. They just tell parents this is the time that you meet, and it's all individualized. You go, and there was not ever really much kickback, but we had 90% attendance, like my first year there, for all the way through, which was pretty impressive when you look at secondary conferences. But even there, some of the conversations that we had, the way they were able to do that was you wouldn't meet with every teacher. You met with your child's homeroom teacher. So you met with one, and every teacher would give them the stuff. So if you had questions specifically for an individual teacher, you're probably gonna have to set up an extra meeting or talk with them or something like that. So pros and cons. Attendance was great. Parents gotta have contact with at least one person that sees their child on a daily basis, but it didn't provide all the necessary information too. So that's one of the things that we'll definitely work to see how
So
we
how
can get.
was our attendance?
I haven't seen the stat on it yet, but I'll follow up with Dan on that and see if I can't get one of what we're looking at.
I mean, the high school or the secondary did those, and I can't remember how many times, but they did the one where you just had met with one person. And personally, I didn't really care for that.
Me either.
Because
I get that.
you normally spoke with somebody that you didn't have a question for.
Yep.
Right, we once met with John Olson, the PE teacher.
Yeah, we
and
did too.
He doesn't know what's going on in the other classes, and just getting the information, it doesn't do a whole lot of justice. So, yeah, I don't know that works great. And I with JMC, we used to use Canvas or whatever, I mean, if parents want to know what their kids are doing on a daily basis, they can monitor it every day if they want to, and that's one of the reasons why we didn't often go to the conferences, because we knew how our kids were doing and we didn't have any issues. But
my comment's gonna be the same as it is. You know, I think they've seen kind of time and come and go. If you've got a problem with your kid or your kid's got a problem in school, I don't know why you'd wait till parent-teacher conferences. You should be in there actively talking to your teachers, and we should encourage that, I think. And it just boils down to, like you said, a lot of the stuff, you wanna know what your kids are doing, it's there. You just have to take the initiative to go check. And then, you know, if we're gonna have parent-teacher conferences, we have to make it so parents don't have to choose what are their kids' events they're gonna do.
Yep.
You know, I don't know how many different events there were going on that night, but, you know, when you
Yep.
Parents work till 4 or 5 o'clock, and now I've got to choose between this, and this, or a conference.
Yep. And those are some of the things, you know, when I was at Macokota through COVID, one of the things that we started doing then were virtual conferences, and we set 15-minute increments. And then we were able to do them throughout the day too, because even if parents were at work, it was easy for them to say, hey, instead of me taking off early to go to my kid's conference or something, can I get a 15-minute break to attend virtually? And then they could do that. So our attendance rate that year was pretty solid as well, just because we were able to get that interaction during the day versus at night and stuff too, so.
Well, in all honesty, we have the technology to
Yep.
do it through Google Meet. We have everything we need to do that, and if that would help us get our attendance rates up,
Yep.
then you could schedule time with the teacher you really want to talk to, but I just
Yep.
think we need to improve it and then make it so that people don't have to choose.
Yep.
Is it just a drop-in
Yeah,
situation then?
right now it's just dropping.
Well, I mean, you schedule your time.
Yeah.
How do you schedule your time?
You sign
Do
up
we have,
for
I
it.
said, do we have the
It's
sign up?
either a Google form or it's a sign up genius. I'm not sure which one the high school is now. I think that was a Google form.
Yeah, I'd say,
JMC has a conference scheduler module in the family portal.
yeah, so the family portal is, I think that's one of the things that we can have and potentially add. I'd have to see if it's part of our current agreement, because I know there's various add-ons within the family portal. I'll look at that too.
Okay, anything else? Good discussion. Okay, now we'll move on to personnel resignations. So we have 3 of them presented.
I'll move to approve the resignations from Carol Lott as custodian, Brandy Seelman as para, and Liv Schumann as junior high girls basketball coach.
Second?
Motion by Matt, second by Dick to approve the resignations of Kara Lott as custodian, Brandy Seelman as para, and Liv Schumann as junior high girls basketball coach. So Caleb did talk to me about Liv's situation, and you know, with the season coming up pretty quick here, so we need quick turnaround on doing that. So they're posting it, and then expect that we'll probably either have a quick, because when's our next?
Thursday's when practice is supposed to start, I believe.
It's either next Thursday or the following Monday, the 28th.
Yeah, the 28th
Is
is
it?
what I've
Okay.
been.
Okay.
Previously in our contracts, because it is such late notice, I don't know the situation, the reality of it is that we need a coach and you signed on to do it, and you're doing this so late in the game, we used to be able to say, you need to do this until a suitable replacement can be found. Is that still contract language?
Yeah, that'd still be within contract language generally. So in this case, John was able to find somebody that was interested, potentially, even though we'd just gotten it posted, so we'd known that that was probably gonna be a likely thing that we could be able to make happen, so. Otherwise, yeah, I know, that was kind of the panic messaging that him and I went through the other day, so. But,
Okay.
And with the other two, have we done exit interviews? I don't know when their last days are, but.
So Brandy, I've given her questions, she responded to those questions, and now I'm gonna do an in-person interview with her just to go through those. Kara, similar, I've shared questions with her, so then I'm working to schedule that in-person interview too.
And when's her last day?
Kara's, I believe, would be tomorrow, but yeah.
So we'll have that done by tomorrow?
Mhm. I'll work to arrange that with her, yep.
And then will you share that with Donovan or whatever? Because
I can do that. Share that.
We've got 2 of our maintenance or our custodial staff leaving, and I think we need to find out why, if there's an underlying issue there. Thank you.
Who's the other one?
Just,
Brandy, didn't she work some part-time in the custodial
no,
department at all?
no.
Okay.
Nursing, she did some part-time nursing stuff.
I thought she did.
On Brandy's, do we typically pay for their personal time that isn't used? That isn't on the resignation letter?
I think if you're on an accrual statement where you earn so many hours per pay period, you're obligated by the state to pay them. If you earn it on an accrual basis. Or they could just turn around and take 19 and a half hours of vacation and resign at the end of that.
I feel that's the more advantageous piece of payout versus them take it and then you're
here with somebody who doesn't want to be
Yep.
here.
I think it's fine, like, per what Doug was saying. Okay,
The difference would either, if I give you 20 days of PTO a year, I've given it to you, so if you left, you're entitled to all 20 days. It's not on an accrual basis where you earn so many per month or pay period. So. I could be wrong. I was wrong on Brandy being a custodial, but, you know, I think I'm pretty close.
okay, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Okay, now we're going on to personnel appointments. So right now we just have the cheer coach position.
I'll move to approve the appointment of Daniel Lotswitson as cheer coach, assistant cheer coach.
I'll second.
Motion by Doug, second by Jordan to approve Danielle Lotwison as the cheer coach, assistant cheer coach. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. Okay. Next item is old business. So the first one in old business is to approve addition of Hall of Champions coordinator position.
So with this is, I worked with John to kind of get a job description drafted, knowing that the initial year we'd be looking at playing catch up. So that's where it is worth 8% of the base multiplier for that year one, or a $2,800 stipend. The year two, then proceeding going forward, we'd be looking at dropping that down to 4% because then things would be updated within that. And then it's just working through the maintaining work. This would also be working with our marketing group, our yearbook group, and things like that, collaborating with them, and then collaborating with Brian and John as well, just to ensure that all athletic stuff's updated as well. So.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the Hall of Champions job description.
Motion by Matt. Second.
I'll second.
Second by Rod to approve the Hall of Champions job description as presented. Coordinator position. Any further discussion?
Just with that, have we defined in there what that initial, when you're talking about the first year of $2,800, what that's supposed to do?
So-
What all that includes, because
Yep.
you go back to the original proposals, there was a lot of things that's supposed to have been added to that never happened.
Okay.
And my real question is $2,800 to do what they all said they were gonna do in, 2018 when we built that thing? I don't know if $2,800 would be worth my time. And then, do we have budgeted amount where we can send the class composites to somebody to have them digitized? Because I believe at one time it was to include the Gladbrook class composites, the Reinbeck class composites, and then GR class composites. I'm pretty sure that never got done. I would just
Well, I mean,
probably.
what the expectations though of having part-time people do it before, I mean, I can see why it fell through the cracks.
Absolutely, but we did authorize money at one point to have them sent to the company to have them digitized, and that never happened either.
So then is that money still available then? Is that your
Yeah.
question?
Well, and is $2,800 for somebody to bring it up to current? Is that enough to entice somebody to do it? Because I think there's a lot of stuff that you need to do.
Right. So right now, what I'll work with John to do is get back into that original proposal. So if we have somebody that's interested in this, we can share, this would be the year one expectations of it. And at that point in time, if we are, if they would be willing to do the position, but they do not feel the money is enough, then that's something I could bring back to the board. But at least now we'd have the structure of the position.
No, I appreciate you getting it done.
Yep.
Because it's somewhat embarrassing to not have our teams on there since 2018, 19 maybe. And it does need to get done. So I have no problem with the actual description. It's just the amount of work to do to bring it up to snuff. It doesn't seem like it's in line with what I'm gonna pay you every year to keep it current.
Well, and if they don't get it done, then maybe you have to do it for 2 years to get it all done.
As long as we're open
I
to
was
doing
saying,
that.
Yep, that would be another option too.
Right.
We could,
I mean, the other thing that we can, so when we're talking about the media, Schedule B as well too, is like, so if this position is also contributing to the yearbook and that stuff there, then do we have that kind of help out to get that section of it done with the media position? I think that would be something that they could.
Yep, we can talk with them on, yep.
And I'm okay with this kind of being a work in progress as long as we can get it going and get it done.
Yep. Yep,
Well,
biggest thing for me is,
hopefully they can round up some help from some students as well.
yep,
Well, we've tried that in the last 5 years and
Yeah.
it's really gone nowhere.
Well, but I mean,
But you
it's
didn't have
also,
a designated
right.
leader.
There you go. Well,
that's a difference now, is you have somebody that's designated to do it, and then they can grab the students and do it with them, and then,
oversee them and.
and then if they wanna do, is we could also do some volunteer hours as well too, like, I don't see why that.
That'd be a good idea.
my only concern would be is do they report to the building principal or the athletic directors? I think you need to be more definitive who they
Okay.
actually report to. So,
Okay, we have the motion by Matt, second by Rod to approve the Hall of Champions coordinator position with the 8% base multiplier for the first year, 4% base multiplier for any preceding year. So we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we got that position. Next one is approval of the chairlifts in the secondary building.
I'll move to approve the chairlifts and install for Merrill chairlift as presented.
Motion by Christine,
Second?
second by Dick. Any further discussion?
Did we ask about going up to the 4th floor, or is that,
So the 4th floor, what makes that tough is the landing space is not very big to be able to back out versus the other ones.
gotcha.
And with knowing, it'd be something we could potentially add into the future. It wouldn't be, like right now, this one is connected the whole way down. That if we were to add the 4th floor in the future, it would just be one section versus all kind of 3 sections together. So it's something we can consider, but right now with the way the landing's set up, that was one of the things that they were a little concerned about, and like our AEA reps were concerned about with the space to be able to turn on and that kind of stuff. So that's one thing there. A couple other things that we have had to look into this and with consideration, this will now technically go from 3rd floor all the way down into the 1st floor where our science rooms and things like that are. You can stop at each landing along the way. So even with the landing that would then go into the commons area, our issue then is how do we get down the stairs? So we looked into ramps. Ramps, a couple of the things would be, one, the fall would put us in front of either the door, and then we're dealing with some potential, because I asked Shane, like, could we block up the door, move the door to the other side in the hallway area, or something like that. The big thing is, with the age of the building, all electrical and stuff was run through the cinder block, so he doesn't know how big an issue that could create if we start digging into some of that. But I did run it through by the AEA rep the other day. We can do the collapsible, it's like a mobile lift, or not a lift, but a mobile ramp. It is warranted or able to go up to 24-inch rise, and then it's gradual over 12 feet. So we're gonna get one of those ordered as well, so then we would have a ramp to be able to get down, and then when the ramp's not in use, we can fold it up and put it.
So that's one of those motorized things, you flip it up and you just ride it up and down?
It's not, yeah,
So it's really not a ramp, it's just more or less a lift or what?
no, this would be the ramp. The current wheelchair that our student is in currently is not motorized, but they're looking at getting him a power assist motorized, so he would be able to wheel, but it has a motor built in to assist with that. That would make getting up and down the ramp a lot easier, but with that, we'll also have an aid that would take him down the ramp, and then we'd also have another adult on the other side because it doesn't have sides to it. But we'd push it up against the wall, be able to go one side, so we were protecting it and stuff there too. So, but that was my biggest concern, is what are we doing next for ramp, and I wanted to make sure I got approval from kind of the AEA person that works with all of the physical therapy and those types of things. So she's been the one guiding us through.
Don't they just make one that you fold it down, you get on it, and it just comes down? But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah. So
I would be less concerned about that door than making sure that the ramp is gonna work for the A student that's in the chair.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm back to the fourth floor. I get that, you know, we may not have quite amount of room, but I think we have to plan for the future. We still have to have a way to get students up to the fourth floor or shut the room down.
Where is the installation of these electric lifts? Is it on the north end or south end?
North end.
On the
So,
north.
yep.
Okay.
So we'd still have the one lift then on the south end that, that's the one entrance that has an actual ramp that comes up to the building. But now we'd still be able to get in through the commons and then use the ramp to get up to that first floor where we can load a student into the lift to then go to second or any other floors as well. So
Is the ramp issue or the landing issue the same on the north end of the fourth floor as it is on the south end?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
I believe. In fact, that's the end that's tighter because the wall comes out farther. On the south end, there's a little more space there. It's still a little bit of a concern, but there's a little more space to navigate because you got the hallway that goes the other way, whereas on the north end of the fourth floor, you don't have that. So,
Is that wall on the north end though, is that, because isn't it partially a full wall? Because it used to be the old.
I'd have to look
upper
into that.
balcony?
I'd have to look into that to
It was
see
what?
if
It used to be the upper balcony to the auditorium.
it's like a
They
drywall
put
That's
full
on the
balcony.
south end.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought we were gonna do all of it, so I guess I'm a little, we really need to look into doing the fourth floor. I get it might be tight, but tight is better than not being able to get somebody up there all together.
Because currently we have Spanish and consumer, or not consumer, but
Spanish is on first floor. It'd be Chris's classroom would be fourth floor, and then some study halls and stuff at different times are on fourth floor as well.
that's Spanish.
Spanish was up there last year when the bathroom displaced her classroom,
Okay.
so and she moved up there temporarily.
Okay. All right, so we have the original motion by Christine, second by Dick, to approve the chairlifts as presented.
So, just one more, there's three options or three proposals in there. Which one would we be accepting?
So what we did with the three, so each one of those is just breaking the overall cost into.
Each
Yes.
set, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha, okay.
So what that let me do is it put it within a area that I could work to approve items, so we could say they were technically to a degree approved with the ESSER plan, because that, we need to be able to have POs entered for ESSER.
It's fine.
Yeah, so.
Understand why, thank you.
Okay, Doug, anything else?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank
But I
you.
do reserve my right to question.
I was just gonna say.
Those of us that watched it,
Original motion by
Perry
Christine,
Mason.
second by Dick, to approve the chairlifts as presented. We'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries. All right. Next item is the policy handbook revisions.
So there are three different revisions that we'd look at here. First one would be time of meetings. We've discussed that we would like to be able to just remove the time being 6:30 within that. Have it still be the third Thursday of the month, but essentially in policy, we specify 6:30 right now. So if we remove that, we have the flexibility of being able to change the time without breaking policy on it. But at this, and then we know that going forward, we're gonna do everything we can to schedule at 7 o'clock like we have been. So that would be the one piece there. The early graduation, I dug into this, and so our policy specifies that it's up to the superintendent to work with the principal to determine how the graduation requirements are going to be enforced. Where our handbook comes into play is that's where it breaks it down that it would need to be approved within a trimester prior to graduating. This is one of those pieces that I think has been put into the handbook, and then over years that wasn't always necessarily followed without the handbook, and then board policy didn't say that it had to be because board policy was written slightly different than what the handbook said. What I did is work to kind of put that back into play where we have still some contingencies where anybody would have to be approved for early graduation in the trimester prior to when they graduate. So if we have a kiddo that is working through their alternative diploma degree and we're notified a week before the trimester, and they get it in and it's before the board meeting, we could get that approved and they could graduate then. If they miss that window, we're gonna look at trying to see what we can do for that next trimester and stuff there as well. But it gives a little more flexibility, but still has a timeline. This would allow us to approve the early graduations that we've had submitted thus far. But the other big thing with this is while I'm asking to change the handbook, know that this is also something that Amber and Dan and I are starting to discuss and really talk about just regarding early graduation in general and how we have students that are able to graduate first trimester of their senior year. And if that's the case, what is it that they are set up to do? Our goal would be that if they're going to graduate that early, they're entering the workforce with more than just something that they can enter the workforce in at a marginal level. It's, do they have accreditations? Do they have certifications and things like that? And if they don't have those types of things, why can't we change some of our graduation requirements to ensure that they do? So those are things that Dan and Amber and I are going to be working on this year, so that going into next year, when we're looking at approving our course handbook and things like that, we can have some new suggestions there to address some of this. The last one is just a change or revision within our meal charges. Right now, our current board policy says that we would offer an alternative meal option if students are running a negative lunch balance. The issue there, from an enforcement standpoint, is then our kitchen has to be able to prepare that alternative meal option, and that's not what we are currently doing. So our practice isn't matching what that fits. So I'm going to work to figure out some other ways that we can tackle that when we have negative lunch balances. Right now, we have a couple that are pretty high. We've exhausted a lot of efforts to work with those families, so we'll probably be getting to the point where we're looking at small claims or things like that. But beyond that, our policy, if we remove that, it's not gonna change, but this would align more with what practice currently is right now. With it being our year that we have our site visit from the state regarding our nutrition, this is something that Jennifer requested that we get cleaned up. So that would be those three things.
So normally we have 2 readings for policy revisions. Do you want us to waive the second reading, or what's?
Yeah, I mean, we could waive the second reading, or this could be the first reading, and then we can review them again at the next meeting too, so.
Well, you really can't. You've got students that you want to graduate that didn't follow the rules.
Correct.
We either have to suspend them or change them.
So that, the one thing with the early graduation is that is changing the handbook, so it's not changing policy.
But we approved the handbook, so we would need to approve it again after you remove that.
Gotcha.
Handbook's an extension of policy, you just can't change it. So we would have to change that as well. Or suspend it until we went through a second reading. I'm okay not having a second reading,
Yeah,
is what I'm
I
saying.
would say let's not have a second reading and just forgo that procedure.
So I would move on policy 210.2 to strike the following phrase, meetings will begin promptly at 6:30 PM. And strike the section that says, and time. So basically it would read, the board would adhere to this meeting date unless the board requires additional meetings. We just remove the time from that sentence.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion by Doug, second by Christine to change the policy regarding 210, or 210.2, which removes meeting will begin promptly at 6:30 and removes any suggestion of a specific time.
And waiving the second.
And waiving the
Yes.
second reading. Any further discussion on that one? Okay, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. All right, that one carries. Okay, do we have a motion for the amendments to the early graduation and waiving the second reading?
I know we don't have a motion there, but I'm gonna come out and say that, I get why we put it in there years ago to do the previous, because you should have your ducks in a row to make such a big decision to graduate early. And while I'm trying not to be inflexible, I still think you need to put some type of date in there. Other school districts around us say you have to have it done by you have to have everything ready by so many days into the semester, and if you don't, you can't apply. I think waiting until like the day before a board meeting, before the end of the trimester is totally unreasonable. And I don't think it's teaching our kids anything at all about just waiting till the last minute to do anything. I think you need to have a time in there that they have to, if you're going to change that from the semester before, which I still don't know why you wouldn't graduate then, but if you're going to move it to the same trimester, it has to be early on in the trimester. I'm sorry if you don't get your work done, but I think you need to have some type of date in there that people have to meet to be able to graduate early. And
You wanna do 30 days or 60 days or something?
into the semester, not before the end of the semester. I think you need to be able to plan ahead of time.
On the front end.
I think it's either Dyke or Hudson has in there, I think it has to be by the, don't quote me on the date, it's like the first Tuesday of October or something. If you haven't applied by that and you haven't met the requirements, you can't apply.
Yep. I can definitely look at some of those other ones as we're looking to review how we can.
I
button up
mean,
early
maybe we don't want to
graduation.
approve it because you want to do a little research. I'm not opposed to looking at changing that. But I don't think you want to wait till the last minute in November. I don't know when our trimester ends, but if we have a board meeting on Thursday and they don't able to apply until Wednesday, they're already too late. They can't be put on the agenda. So they've missed that date. They're going to have to come back the next trimester. But give them a date they have to abide by, or a day of the month, like the first Tuesday of whatever, October. I'm just think we're asking just for a lot of extra paperwork and things to do if we just let it have no time frame.
I would think like 30 or 60 days prior to the end.
And I could go that route, 60 days prior. If you don't know you can graduate, you probably shouldn't be graduating.
Right.
You're basically, if you're talking about what is a trimester now, 60 days? Is that right?
It depends on the
Yes,
tribe. It's
right.
close. It's close.
So 60 days before the end, you gotta know the first part of the trimester that you're gonna graduate, or you're gonna have to be eligible to graduate.
I mean, not that a lot of students read the student handbook, but I mean, what does it say in there? I mean, it should give them guidance as to.
It does, they didn't read it.
I mean, all
Well,
three of them should
we
match.
may have not been counseling them correctly either, though,
Well, that was true.
so.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty easy counsel of like, they come up and say, well, you're too late, so. next
Well,
time.
but I mean, like, they wanted them to wait until this first try to make sure that they had gotten their summer work done, right?
I believe, yeah.
So like, I would say, like, you could even say 15 days in the first 15 days of the trimester must be applied for. That gives them
Again,
the first 3 weeks of it.
I just think you
Right.
need to have a time frame established.
And I think doing something like that would be, or 60 days before the end.
I did a little reading, there are some that,
60 before the end is.
Is almost the
Previous
first.
it's the
one.
beginning, yeah.
I feel like you need to give them like 3 weeks at the beginning of the try at least, those first 15 days.
That'll let them know if they're on track. I mean, they're,
Have school, yeah.
So you could
15
say
school
45
days.
days before the end of the trimester, because they do vary in size, that would get you roughly 15 days. I'm okay doing something like that in the future. But to just decide right now that I want to graduate early, or something then wrong with our system if I can graduate, you know, that early. I think, to your point, Caleb, we need to
Yeah.
figure out what else we can have them take
Yeah.
to GR. To make sure that they're a well-rounded individual that can graduate from our district and meet our standards.
absolutely.
Okay, so kind of just doing some clerical stuff here. For the students that we have with the current thing here, I'll take a motion to, if we want to proceed with the early graduation as presented, and then I think we circle back once we get that language defined there.
I'll make a motion that we amend the student handbook section on early graduation to allow students to apply within the trimester that they intend to graduate. With a number of days, 15 or whatever it is, set at a later date.
Okay, we got the motion by Dick.
So I hear that it's kind of a temporary thing just for this incident. And we can
I
fix
can
the
have,
handbook.
I can have a better policy that is more descriptive, that would allow that flexibility into the beginning of a trimester by November. So
Okay.
we'll be within that window then.
Right.
And then I can get that communicated with Amber and Dan, so we're prepping kids early on. Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Dick, second by Matt to approve the early graduation requirement amendments to allow students to be approved within the trimester, but within roughly 15 days from the start of the trimester. Any other discussion on that one?
I just think you need to make a note, you're gonna have a better amendment to the handbook at the November meeting.
Yeah, with that 15-day realm
45,
type of
whatever-
thing.
whatever it is.
Yep, we'll have that amendment at the November meeting, yeah.
Well, I'm just kind of looking, because Marshalltown, I was looking at theirs, and then I did look up at Hudson. They have right at the beginning of their senior year, and all of it is done by October 1st.
There, that's the one I read.
That could
And
be-
then it's, you're done. But then they can't come back for anything.
And they're both trimester based as well too?
I don't know if Hudson is.
Hudson might be semester, and then I'm looking at it.
So to me,
So they would-
October 1st is too late in our
Yeah,
process.
and so they would graduate in December, and then, yeah, so they're graduating a semester early there.
But then, your point, they're done, they can't,
Right.
they don't come to graduation, they don't do anything.
Well, that's the same with ours.
Yeah.
No, they can go to graduation.
Yeah, ours allows them to walk on graduation day.
But everything else is out.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, they can't participate in sports, activities, anything like that anymore, they're not going to prom, they're not doing those things, yeah.
So we could say like September 10th, so then that way it's to us by the third week of September every time.
Yeah, let him come back with something.
Yep, I'll get that put together.
I think
We'll set
that
some
what you're doing
dates
here
to it.
is you put a motion on the table here that allows this to happen, that bypasses the handbook and, you know,
Okay.
at least that's the way I interpreted that.
Yeah.
Okay, good discussion on that, so we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Bye.
All right, motion carries. Okay, last one is the nutrition policy amendment. So.
What do we current feed them? Because it is policy, we should know it. So what do we
it's
currently
just
feed
peanut butter
'em?
sandwiches, right?
So right now, if you,
It's just
Right now, we don't offer an alternate meal option, because if you did, it has to be a menu option that then every student would be able to purchase and buy, which makes the predictability of being able to prepare those next to impossible.
So just a quick question, and this is a policy we should have been reviewing based on current and law change, because it says we can do that. Okay.
Correct.
So today we're doing what?
So today, if they come through, they would still get a lunch. It will still charge their account. They will just go into the hole that much more. So.
And if they still have a negative balance at graduation,
That's when there's certain things that we can withhold. So you can't withhold the diploma, but you can make it so they cannot walk. You can do, there's other things that we can start to do and increase. And that's something that I want to work to put together and see what some other districts are doing. Like, you can restrict participation in activities. You can restrict participation, like you can't go to prom if you have an unspent balance, things like that. So you can do a lot of those other things to basically restrict it down. The only thing we can't do is deny them education, deny them food, and deny them the ability to graduate is what we wouldn't be able to deny them. But
I'm assuming we have reached out to these families to fill out the reduced lunch
Yep.
form.
So give us an idea how many dollars we're talking about here, because this says we should have been doing this at $20.
so overall, that takes care of most of them. Like, we don't have a lot of families that are far past that $20 range at all, but we do have a small handful that have definitely taken full advantage of knowing that at times we have people that donate larger sums, like around Christmas and stuff, to pay off full balances. So they'll let a balance rack up and then hope that somebody gets it paid off. And so last year, we worked to try to set things up that we would take care of all negative balances when a donation like that was made. But if we had some that had not made efforts to pay, that we would reach out to them and say, look, we're willing to pay off so much, but we need an effort to pay. And we at least have one family that has not made much efforts as well beyond that. So that's where I know Christine had just reached out this year and sent another certified letter that basically our next steps would be to move forward with looking at small claims and things like that. So we're starting to pursue those actions. That's part of our policy as well. It's just one of those last options that we want to exercise. But
So if we just gave them a bread and butter sandwich and a glass of water, that would suffice?
we would have to have that listed as a menu item that every kid could purchase or get if they wanted.
Is that a law, or is that?
That, from what Jennifer's told me, that's the law. So if we're gonna give them something, it has to be an option on the menu. Because it's an alternative meal that we're providing. That's the. What was that? Sorry. Yeah.
So, I mean, because I mean, the other thing is, like, a lot of the restrictions were based on junior high school students. I mean, for the elementary, I mean, would it be withholding those students from field trips, anything like that?
Yeah, that's something we could look at. Field trip can get a little dicey if it's deemed an academic activity, but if it's like a field day or things like that, that's more of a reward-based thing, those could be restricted.
I move to revise policy 710.4 and waive the second reading with the revision omitting the paragraph regarding when the balance reaches minus $20, and also deleting the paragraph students with outstanding meal charge debt.
Second.
Motion by Matt, second by Christine to amend policy 710.4 and waive the second reading with the changes of omitting the paragraph with the limit of $20 and deleting the, deleting the
That paragraph.
fifth paragraph. Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
I see them in small claims.
Who made that motion?
Matt.
Matt, and then second, sorry.
Christine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so then the next item is to approve the early graduation requests.
These are our 3 early graduation requests that we've had turned in. We did get new signatures added, especially like Ryan's was done electronically. Drew's we had the questions on with parents, and then Nevaeh's is the same as last time, so.
Much better.
You can still get them to print their name though, that'd be great.
Or just type,
Or typed.
have it digitally, type it in there as part of the form, and now you need to sign it.
It'd be nice if there was an actual form that they fill out, you know,
Right.
stating what their intention is, and why, and their
That we
name,
can make that part of that revision process too.
date, set, those kinds of things.
Okay, so we have Neva, what's her last name?
Nevaeh, if I got this folder. Where's our folder at? School. I don't have that folder with me, it's at school, box.
Need their names.
B.
I move to approve the early graduation
decent.
request as presented.
Yeah, Zeason.
A second.
Okay, motion by Dick, second by Matt to approve the early graduations of Neva Nissen, Dustin Stanek, and Ryan Simmons as presented. Any further discussion?
B. Drew Stanek, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Drew
No,
Stanek.
you're good.
Just trying to put a little personal touch there on it, but. Okay, any further discussion on that? Proceed to vote, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Okay, so we had 6-1. Okay. Okay, Dave, we're up again for the archery program.
So I'll let Dave talk here in just a second. The way, and I talked with Donovan a little bit about this too, the way I'm looking at within our archery program is it's kind of two-faceted. So the first facet is in order to have any form of after-school archery program, you have to be able to teach archery within your PE program. So to do that, there would be an initial upfront cost. There is grant money for that. Right now, right out of the gate, if we ordered 2 kits, 1 for each building, that overall cost, I have that. Yeah, it's, sorry, the overall cost would be $4,600, but then we would get $1,500, or sorry, it's $3,800 per kit. You get $1,500 off each kit. So total for the 2 kits, we'd be looking at $4,600. And then that would be before any potential donations or anything like that would be accounted for that I know the archery club has been working to potentially collect and talk with community groups about as well. After a conversation that Donovan and I had with them when it came to getting a program up and going. So the most it would cost the district to get it started would be that $4,600. Our PE teachers, once we would commit to ordering the kits, I would contact the DNR representative and they would actually do a class in Reinbeck for us to get this going, where they would get trained. Once they're trained, they could be able to teach it during class and stuff as well. During that training though, we'd be able to open that up to any other volunteers or parents that would also want to get trained. It would be their responsibilities or the groups to figure out how they would want to pay that, and those would be people that would be able to help orchestrate and run the after-school or the club program. Through that, what I worked to do with a lot of David's input and stuff is put together, in general, an overarching kind of archery program. So what the goals of the program would be, the overall benefits that are shown from other various programs that David's talked about or brought in to present to us, and then also just looking in general at what the program itself is built to do with the NASP archery program. And then similarly with the after-school program. And then try to break it down into the structure, how the curriculum would work. Essentially, we have to be able to show that we are teaching it 10 days out of the school year. And then by doing that, there would be able to be the after-school program as well, or the club. The club structure would entail that 4th through 12th grade. And so it would allow any student within that age range to be able to participate. They would have the opportunity to be in contests, competitions, things like that across the board. When it comes to oversight, the after-school program, a part of it would be run by those parent volunteers or community members and those coaches there, but they would have to be trained and be certified in that to be able to run it. Location-wise, I believe David's worked with John a little bit and talked with Sean a little bit as well. Best location right now, we'd probably be looking at the elementary, especially where the old stage used to be. We'd be able to put up a net there that could catch anything that would go behind it. You also eliminate the ability for people to walk behind anything at any point in time because there's no hallway or anything behind that. So that would be the ideal kind of indoor location that we'd be looking at, knowing that then if it's really nice out in the fall and stuff, we could also potentially take it outside, but there are some additional then safety things that we'd have to consider in doing that. Overall equipment costs beyond just that initial investment in the school, that is what the school would commit to. But if we were looking, if there were additional bows that were wanted, arrows, things like that, this is where we'd start to depend on the club and the community members and group to work to generate fundraising or get with those community groups, whether it's the Isaac Walton League or things like that, to raise some funding for anything that needs to be replaced, or if we need more because we have more kids participating, those types of things. Maintenance and storage, this is always one of the tough ones, figuring out where everything would be able to go. But I believe in talking with John at times and looking at where we could potentially store some things, we would be able to make it happen. There's different storage apparatuses and stuff that we can look at that condense the amount of storage space that it would take for the bows, arrows, and those types of things. So that's something where we're working through specific locations, but we do feel that we'd be able to accommodate for that. And then cover some of the safety measures within this of, some of the different protocols that they have to go through. We'd want to make sure we have a solid instructor to student ratio. Within PE, there would be only certain numbers of students that would be able to be at the line at a time. Everybody else would be back away. And those types of things. So those would all be brought up and embedded through the training as well. That certification is outlined there. So our PE teachers, since they would be teaching this, would be able to get certified, and that is no additional cost. Whereas anybody else that would want to be acquiring that certification that is not instructing the class, that would want to be able to assist with the program or the club after school, would need to pay for that certification. I can let David talk a little bit about what that certification entails, as he is a certified instructor here in just a second. We break it down or talk through kind of that initial equipment programming setup, the ongoing costs. Big thing that we have also kind of talked about, and this is one of the things we discussed with Donovan when we were first kind of trying to figure out direction to be able to give the group that David's been able to rally together, is looking at how to handle funding. And so one of the things that a lot of other districts do is the management of the funds is done through the school district. So kind of like a WC to DC type of thing. We would hold we would be the bank that holds that, houses that. The parent and volunteer groups would be depositing into that, and then they would be able to work to, in conjunction with the school district of now how do those funds get expended. So is so much going towards fees for registration? Is it going towards jerseys to wear for competition? And then they would have to establish some protocols, bylaws, and things like that would guide how they get through those things. I know that they got to start on that a little bit when they're looking into being a nonprofit group as well, but this takes some of that, and then we also know that then the fundraising stuff would be audited and those types of things as well, because it is running through the district that way. And then, yeah, I just cover a few of the other things that get covered are just the level of interest, trying to garner that, the parental community involvement, going through what they would be involved in with fundraising, volunteering, coaching, and sponsorships, and then overall how those decisions would be made, school's oversight, and then eligibility determination. One thing that Wapsie Valley shared with us was their kind of handbook. If you're in their archery program or archery club, there's a huge handbook, and it has everything outlined from what you have to have academically to be eligible to participate. All of those types of things are outlined within that handbook as well. And so that is another one of the schools that they have an outside group that does the fundraising, things like that, but everything's run and funneled through the district. So that's kind of the overview, at least, that I feel I could provide. I'll let David kind of talk a little bit about some of the work that he did this summer with the outside of our meetings, of talking to different groups, and then where they're at kind of in those next steps as well.
Yeah, Caleb covered a lot. I did participate and volunteer with the Dyke Archery program up there, and they were asking for some help coaching, and so that's where I got some experience. One thing you're talking about the funding, what the program allows you to do is host a tournament at your facility every year, and then I believe the fee for the tournaments are $5, and then a portion of that goes to the NAS program, and then the school gets to keep the rest to recover like target maintenance, replacing arrows, parts, wear items and stuff like that. So that's one thing the program has put together to help recover some of the costs of the wear and tear in the equipment. So usually that alone covers the maintenance costs when you start hosting tournaments. And then another thing I want to mention too, it's very inclusive. The amount, what had me sold on is how much you're willing to accommodate people with a disability. I've seen people with missing limbs, and they make apparatuses for them, and really how successful you want to be at this sport really is up to the archer and how hard you want to work at it. And as far as the after-school program, that's kind of a lot of people focus on that, but the primary focus of this NAS archery program is to get archery taught in schools again. I went to some of the local organizations and shown them the equipment that we use, and it's a little bit more advanced than we had, say when I was in archery class and gym class, because they had this fiberglass long bows and stuff like that. Now they have it is a compound bow, but it's universally adjustable for your draw length. So you got one bow that can fit all the way from a 4th grader to a senior, and we can adjust the poundage for them. And safety, everything's got a protocol. There's a discipline. You got whistle commands to follow, and yeah, it teaches a discipline, I guess. I'm here, I guess, if you want to hit me with questions about the program. I can just answer them. That probably worked the best. Does anybody have any questions they want answered?
Dave, I think because it was kind of nice to have the meeting, when, if you kind of go over the volunteers that you had with you, and then some of the interest that you had with just volunteers, and then with the students as well too, because there was, when we had the meeting, Caleb, Dave, and there was 5 volunteers that were in the room, and then a couple students that were also participating in it. So it was a great discussion. If you just kind of go through for everybody of like what you kind of did to seek out the donations, things like that, and then how you you kind of went through and organized it and got things going. Just kind of give everybody a little bit of background of how you got to the point you're at now.
Well, I thought about it, and I think what I needed to do was get out and talk to people, explain to them more about the program. They don't really understand, you know, I participated in it, I saw the engagement with the students in this program, and it's co-ed, boys and girls can participate. My wife, I asked her, would you be willing to help out with this? She stepped up and said, yeah, I'd like to do that. And she said, I agree that maybe some more women should step up, and then the girls wouldn't be so intimidated, and so we kind of got a mix of the volunteers, try to find people that have experience working with kids and in shooting sports, and so, yeah, we kind of got a diverse group of volunteers. That's kind of what I was looking for, and I'd be glad to see more people step up and get involved with this too, but I think once people actually visually see it and what it does, it's going to take off. So that's just what I think is going to happen. So, and it does get kids that normally wouldn't be involved in sports. It is really a safe sport. I always say, well, it gets them off their tablets 2 hours out of the week. It's great. So, that's another thing that had me sold on it. So, yeah, I mean, is there any more questions that you want to?
I know, what are, kind of like what Donovan was saying, what were some of the groups that you've met with thus far? I know you've met with Lions Club, Isaac Walton League, I believe, or at least members from it, and then kind of that response of, you know, their commitment to either assisting, helping out, or any like financial contributions or things like that. Because I know you spent some time doing that this summer too, just seeking some of that out.
Yeah, some they did commit to helping out financially. They said, well, if the program is to get approved, we promise to pay you X amount. I think I shared with you, you know, the amounts that they committed to, or, you know, I would say if it does get approved and it gets added to the school programming, I will contact them, and then they'll probably help us out with funding the program. So
based on the number of volunteers you have, how many students could you accommodate in the program?
I would say if we have 50 kids, you know, interested, you know, if we had 4 volunteers, we could probably handle it. It would be as far as, you know, how much space we'd be able to, you know, how much equipment's available. One of the things I saw they do with the other schools is they would have a practice at 7 o'clock, or 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 8 o'clock. And it'd be for an hour. And then usually the older kids that could drive themselves and stuff would participate in the 8 o'clock one, and the younger kids would be the earlier one. And then we can break up the groups that way. Class versus coaching, I guess, if you can have, I would say, you know, a coach can handle 4 or 5 kids. You're looking at their form and their you know, just helping them with their confidence and upping their scores and stuff like that. So, and then just keep an eye on the group in general. So yeah, I mean, if I had 4 volunteers, I would say, honestly, if we had 50, 55 kids participate, I said we could probably handle that, so easily.
Okay.
So how does this affect our PE classes? You're gonna take 10 days a year out of PE curriculum today. What do we get rid of, or what do we shorten? Have you thought about that?
So this all started being brought to me by John Olson last summer. That was where the conversation first got started. So at that point in time, you know, I tried to make sure that he felt like it was going to be able to be attainable, that he'd be able to fit it into his curriculum and things like that, kind of across that board. And he felt like at that point in time it was definitely doable. So I believe our first conversation was Brian, John, David, myself, and at that point in time we felt if board were to adopt it, we'd be able to get some things shifted around and make that happen. So
you would just shorten the curriculum period, you wouldn't really drop any of the other curriculum or things that you're doing in PE?
Yep.
No, we could just modify and just slide it right in, and there's certain things that we need to check off throughout the year as far as our curriculum stuff and what that looks like and standards that we gotta meet, but it wouldn't be a huge deal to shift some things around.
And John was thinking about maybe having it for a spring or fall activity, something in addition. And that's something they could do outside, maybe.
Okay, does anybody else have any other questions for Dave? Okay, well, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. All right, so I will take a motion to approve the archery program as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Dick, second by Rod to approve the archery program as presented. Any further discussion?
Do we need to modify our policy to allow this? Because there is nothing in our provision about it in an educational program.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous weapon is defined in our policy. Do we need to reword that and amend it?
So I've tried digging into this. I've looked at like Dyke New Hartford's board policies involving it, Wapsie Valley's board policies on it. They have the exact same board policies that we have that allow it, and all of theirs would require that it's being taught in school too. So through the adoption of it, what we're doing is when we would adopt that proposal and have archery as a program, it would then become that educational activity that would involve it. So I tried doing as much research into that as I could, looking at other
I'm not
districts that I
sure
know.
that it, I'm just reading our policy and I'm not sure it specifies if it's part of the curriculum. It just says a dangerous weapon is not allowed on school property,
Well,
in essence, unless I'm missing
in
something.
E, it says student and individual.
That's not our policy.
That's within our policy.
Actually, I'm looking at it right now and those words don't appear in 502.6, unless
So
I'm missing it.
502.6, yep.
905.3.
Okay.
So we have duplicate. Talking
Well,
about.
502.6 involves, that's like student conduct or within student requirements. The 900s go into more of like the broader, like activities, things like that are involved in as well, so.
I think if you added E to the one that Doug was looking at though, I think you'd be, so on this where it says our hunter, school district approved firearms courses, hunter education courses, or shooting sport activities.
I might be able to buy into that if it doesn't violate anything else. I just think you need to be consistent because one says you can't do it and the other one says it's okay.
Yeah, I definitely see you need to.
If what you're saying, I didn't read 902 whatever because I just looked up weapons. So, sorry.
Nope.
And I was just thinking it was on the engine.
Okay, well, I mean, I think this is a good thing. I think Dave's kind of gone through the ringer of this. We've kind of steered him on this, and I think he's done a good job of going through and getting all the stuff, all his ducks in a row, and doing a lot of research, talking to a lot of people. So I think it's something that it seems like there's a lot of good insights there with kids, and yeah, I think it's going to be something good. And you know, I go back to who used to be taught. So I mean, it's kind of, we had it, we went away from it, we were going back to it. So yeah. Okay, any other discussion points? Okay, we have the original motion by Dick, second by Rod to approve the archery program as presented. Proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Okay, we have an archery
Will
program.
you make a note to modify that
Yep,
policy?
I got that.
Please.
Yep. No, I think, yeah, we can definitely do that to get those policies to match, because, yeah.
We have two 905.3 policies also. Two different
Okay.
policies.
So within, 905.3, that would be the weapons one. The other one was the 502.6, explicitly left weapons underneath the section for students. And so I'll work to get those to resemble more of one another and bring that to the
So when would this start?
policy.
Next school year?
So we can start it as soon as possible. As soon as we can get the kits ordered, we would get a class scheduled. That would allow us to at least be able to get it being taught. It doesn't necessarily mean that we would start the competitions program, club and stuff right away. I know there would be other things that we would need to make sure we have in place prior to getting that with bylaws, rules, all those, and those would be things that we'd bring to present as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, because I think you said that they were willing to do like a quick on-site,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
really short order with the gym teachers to where they could start it very soon, so. Okay,
And it would be a club then thing, it would not be a quote, all we would do is teach it in PE, it would be a club thing, so they're responsible for everything outside of that, transportation,
Yep.
insurance and all that for
Correct.
them.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
but then again, it's still, the funding still is coming.
Yep.
to
Just
us.
like our DC trip, I have no
Yep,
issues with
it's an
that whatsoever.
affiliate, so, you know, if they wanted to utilize transportation for us, we would charge for a bus driver, we
Right.
would, yeah. So
It
we
just
would-
makes it a lot easier and a lot cleaner, they don't have to
Yep.
start a nonprofit or anything like
Correct.
that.
Right,
'cause
and
I
that was
wasn't
the
doing it.
discussion that we had
Yeah.
with Dave, was just the.
No, running it through the school as long as we don't have all the auditor people, like we have to do sometimes, it's like, you can't have, it's a long story, but
Yep.
it's just a good thing to run it through the school in terms of funding, as long as we don't spend their money.
Okay, the last thing on the old business is the Site Logic facility update, so.
So, when it comes to the site logic updates, I mean, we've been talking a lot about various things. Mailers were distributed to the post office this week. I'm following up with them because I know I haven't checked mail today at our house, but I have not received it yet, which is perplexing me, so I'm gonna follow up with Site Logic on that. Because I know that was, they were aiming to have it delivered last Friday. They had some issues with getting them from the printer, and then, so they got them delivered, I believe it was Tuesday this week, to the post offices. One of the things they ran into was with GMG and us simultaneously going to bond, both working with Site Logic, the overlap, there's actually some parcels and stuff that post offices would overlap. So there's a good chance that some people will get both a card for us and a card for GMG, so they would see. And the good news for us is our tax rate's definitely lower than what GMG is. Theirs is bumping up to over $15 if it were to pass there. So that's on the mailers. Last night we had our open house, or the town hall down here in Gladbrook. I felt like it went pretty well. Had really good discussion, a lot of good questions, looking back into some of the concerns from finances, things like that, where enrollment currently is. So being able to discuss and talk about how our enrollment has continuously grown, even though we're still, in theory and technicalities, 21 short of where we were of butts and seats back in 2015 or 14-15. Our certified enrollment is higher, and all those things help us when it comes to funding things like a bond to be able to show sustainability as a district. So for the most part, I felt like that went pretty good. Donovan was there last night, so if he wants to add anything there, I'll let him. The only other thing that I would have as far as an update here, Brian reached out, looking at the calendars and trying to schedule everything out. That Wednesday next week was completely wide open. It looked really good. And then he reached out and mentioned that we have volleyball, and if we win Monday, we play Wednesday. And of course, we'll play at home and stuff too. So I have been working with Dan. Good news is we're not going to change the time because the time was printed on the mailer and things like that of when we'd have it, but we are going to offer additional times. So we're going to do kind of more of we'll start at 5:30 and have kind of 4 stations that people could go at 5:30, then keep those same stations at 6:30, 6, 6:30, and 7. So anybody could come and they could go to the individual stations they want to because they may have already heard a bunch of the spiel and they just want to see Matt Gillespie or something like that. Or they could come, just get a building tour, those types of things. So we'll have that organized and set up, ready to go. Working on getting volunteers to lead tours and that kind of stuff now. What we'll do is we'll house that over in the old building, so we won't be, mingling too much within that new space where we would have our volleyball match taking place. And that way, then anybody that wants to come and then go to the volleyball match will have that ability to do so. But, I don't know, Donovan, you wanna add anything about last night, or?
No, I think it was pretty good discussion. Questions are very similar to, what they've been in the past, like regarding open enrollment numbers, enrollment projections, same thing, themes there. There was a little bit of questions regarding how the process chose what the stages were, so there was a little bit of discussion with that. And then, again, there was some people on the committee that were there that helped explain some of that stuff as well too, so that was good. But yeah, I mean, it was, there were some pointed questions, but I mean, that's fine. I mean, it was still a good discussion with everything, but yeah, I mean, it was good, yeah. That's all I have.
Regarding the mailer, I know my dad, who has a Hudson zip code,
Okay.
received his today.
Okay.
I got mine yesterday.
All right.
With regard to that, when were they originally scheduled to go out?
So their schedule was to work to get them out, not this week, but it was gonna be Thursday or Friday of last week. And then the issue with their
Was
printer.
that on the original schedule when we were
So-
looking at this to have them sent out?
It wasn't, the mailers wasn't explicitly spelled out within that, or within the bonding communication timeline, so it wasn't explicitly explained there. But that was where, when you guys had asked if we can try to get that moved up, bumped up, I worked with them to try to get that expedited as much as possible. And I know by moving ours along a little bit quicker, they probably had to do GMGs a little bit quicker too. But yeah, I think, we got it out. It'll be out after the vote no mailer went out as well, which, I think the big thing is the mailer doesn't encourage one side or the other, but does provide a lot of information. I have a bunch of samples or leftovers at school as well, so if there's anybody that would love to get extras or get one or two, we have some that we can do that with as well.
Okay, any other questions regarding the SiteLogic updates, that type of stuff?
Well, make sure they know we're disappointed that it didn't go out sooner.
Yep.
Because we asked them a month ago, or, we talked about it a month ago or more, that we wanted it to go out as quickly as possible.
I think moving forward, we need to put some timelines on this, some dates. And I know they don't get paid until it gets, until it's successfully passed, but, I had people ask me, when is this flyer gonna come out? And there's information that they wanted to know, like, well, if we had to change it, we've talked, if we had to do something, what would the tax rates go to? How much is this actually gonna cost me for an acre of land, or, and they had no idea because they don't have social media. I know that's a big thing.
The other thing though is like, there's a lot of information out there. And also, there is some oversight on our behalf that we can kind of like tell ourselves, do a little reflection here and saying, they gave us a pretty lengthy time frame
Yep.
and a very nice Gantt chart of when this stuff was supposed to be executed. And by golly, we didn't read the super duper fine print that says specific mailer, specific information, specific time that it's going out. That's also a little bit on us, I would say, on that. But in the meantime, like, we also have to, when we're having the conversations with people, is like, I don't know a single person my age that is going to take that flyer and do anything with it. They're gonna take it and they're gonna put it on their fridge, not look at any of the information on it, and then the second the election's over. And so the other thing is, like, we can still coach people to go to the website, and the other stuff there, because, it seems like the flyer gives too much opportunity to where if there's one little detail missing on it, that's what the fixation is on it, is with the flyers. So they kind of do some opposite effects to where, but we really need to start coaching people to go to the website, get the full breadth of what this is, because realistically you can't cover it in 4 pages. And so like, that's the other thing with the flyer is like, I think we're also reading a little bit too much into it. And yeah, it's a disappointment that it didn't come out, but I would just say, like, we also have to be a little bit reflective on that and say that, yeah, we talked to them about it, but then also, did we really know that that was a requirement from them up front that they were gonna do that? And I would say that that would be a no as well too. So, just my 10 cents, that's long-winded on that. So, okay, good update, thank you. Okay, next item is, approved driver's education rates.
So with this, the two rates would be in district, out of district. We're just maintaining those same rates as we had for last year. And so, yep, nothing's changing there. We have our same people that are instructing or driving or riding with students available to do that as well, between Mr. Bikely and, gosh darn, huh? Thank you, Courtney George. Thank you, Christine.
I'll move to approve the driver's education rates as presented.
Motion by Doug, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jordan to approve the driver's education rates as presented.
So do we also need to approve the instructors?
No, those would be ongoing rollover of contracts, so,
Okay.
yep.
Okay, next item is the roofing plan.
We haven't voted yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeepers. Okay, so we had the original motion by Doug, second by Jordan, to approve the driver's education rates of $335 and $435 for this year. All right, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thanks.
So, roofing plan, what I'm gonna work to do is get, Brent from Garland has started to provide me a little more information. I'm gonna try to get that into a more robust, like, information type packet that I can send to everybody, because it's gonna outline 2 or 3 different things. He's gonna then plan to come as well to either work session in November or board meeting in November, to present on what the options are that we're looking at. So, there's 2 kind of big things that we're looking on, or looking at right now, with a third one being more of a repair, and taking care of things. So the first one, in order to continue to have that our insurance covered on the, what would be the 2008 or 2004 edition, we need to have some drains put in where they could see through aerial footage that there is pooling taking place. So it's the best way to be able to take care of that without having to basically redo the roof to restructure the flow of the water there. So that was the quote. It was we got it added in within the bills and stuff to be able to take care of that. Get the plumber contacted to come out and do that. So we're taking care of that right now. When we have the plumbers install the drains, then Brett will bring or orchestrate a crew to come out, redo the roofing around those drains then so it's watertight and it carries the same warranty that we'd have currently. So the warranty will stay in effect there. The secondary or the junior senior high 1921 building's roof, I'm still waiting to hear from Tommy. We're working, I know he's been going back and forth with underwriter of what exactly needs to happen to continue to ensure that that roof is insured there. Currently, still carries warranty, so the warranty is still part of it. But if the insurance company would designate that we need to replace the area that the decking would be damaged, that's where we'd have to look at how we replace that. We'd still maintain warranty on the rest of the roof, but that area would have to be replaced to keep the warranty where it's at. And then so we're working with Brett to kind of figure out exactly what that would be. We did to get the infrared scan, so we know the exact area that it would take. He's developing quotes of what it would look like to just do that area, or if we were to expand it out to do anything else because EMC changes their mind or something there too. We have that information as well. The third thing that he is also putting together for us as part of kind of our roofing plan or things to look at is the roof over the industrial tech building. And so right now, that roof is reaching its end of life. We're gonna have to start to look to do something. To do a whole roof replacement, I can't remember exactly what the cost was, but it would be a fairly significant cost, north of $200,000 and stuff. What we could do instead, though, is they do have some new coating and coverings that can go over current flat roofs that then extend your warranty out and life of the roof another 15 to 20 years. So he's working on putting that together as well within scope of what that would cost and stuff too, and he'll be presenting on that. So once I have a little more of that information, I'll try to get that sent out ahead of time. So if there's any questions and stuff, we can have those ready to go when Brett presents to us.
Okay, so with the EMC stuff, so are we covered in this, on the main building?
So we're currently covered. They have not pulled coverage or anything like that, but I need to know, they said when we got with the water damage from the boys' restroom, that we would have to address the decking or the roofing at some point. But they haven't said what that scope is or what timeline is on that or anything. So that's where I'm trying to work with Tommy to get that information from the underwriter. Example would be like, and I know they're going through stuff because underwriter notified me just yesterday, and I need Shane's been out, so I haven't been able to follow up with him, but we have a electrical panel somewhere in the 1921 building that's still running on fuses. For EMC, we have to put together a corrective action of how we'll get that corrected and get that sent to them. So it's those, I know they're notifying us of those things because that's what happened last year with the pooling. So it's not like we have to get it addressed immediately, but we do have to respond with what corrective action we're gonna take and then start to take steps to do that. And so that's what I'm waiting to hear of exactly what that corrective, if they're not gonna require us to tear it down to the decking, then we don't wanna do that because that would be incredibly expensive. But if that's what they're gonna require us to do, I wanna make sure that that's in writing before we just start ripping into a roof, so.
So, and then the other thing regarding the EMC and then their aerial views with the pooling and all that stuff there, so like, if that's their only methodology of verifying it, do you just send a drone up there and take a picture of it and send it to them and then you're covered, or do you have to submit something to Google Maps to take another picture of the building?
I'm not sure. I will follow up on what the procedures would be to be able to show that we've addressed it,
Okay.
so, yep.
I mean, I'm just thinking, just because it seems like we're kind of in this little bit of a limbo land right now with EMC and how this whole thing's, and it seems like it's kind of dragging out too, right? Okay.
Yep.
So with the roofing at the Industrial Arts Building, it's flat roof. Was there any consideration of putting a steel roof structure that would have slope?
At this point, we haven't discussed that. That's something we can definitely discuss and talk about. Yeah, I will ask Brett about that too.
I mean, it's still a flat roof and iron. If you put a coating on it, it's still a flat roof and iron.
Right.
And it's not like it's a huge structure, I don't think, putting a, 412 or something on that would allow stuff just to run off would be not terrible difficult.
Okay. Okay, so next item, which was the new agenda item, is to approve the bond contracts with Piper Sandler and Allers and Cooney. So, do you just want to give a quick synopsis?
Yeah, so the first one is the dissemination agent agreement with Piper Sandler. So this is just basically saying that their regular agreement when it comes to having them be our bonding agent that we would utilize throughout the bonding process. The next one is the financial services agreement. So this is saying that as, with them acting as our bonding agent, they're also acting as our financial advisors through the process too, and goes through what that would cover and entail in advising us and moving forward through the bonding process. The one with Eilers and Cooney would be having them be designated as our bonding attorney. So they would be looking at all the legal documents and stuff for us throughout the bonding process too, to ensure that everything is, protecting the district and where it needs to be there.
Okay. Any questions from anybody regarding those? Got a quiet group for making motions tonight.
I move to approve the bond contracts as presented.
Second.
Motion by Dick, second by Christine to approve the bond contracts as presented from both Piper Sandler and Allers and Cooney. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Nice. All right.
Alrighty, not a whole lot to add to what we have here. It is state reporting season, so we are in the thick of trying to get all of our reports. We did certified enrollment and stuff throughout the last couple weeks, and then got that certified this week. Now we're getting into, like Sean had mentioned, desk audits, getting our LAO plan updated and uploaded as well. LAO plan would look at like how we serve our students with an ELL population, or English language learner population. We also need to look at revising our tag plan as well, and get that submitted too. Overall, in general, a lot of the reporting measures and stuff this year have changed with the state. A Title I report or Title II report and stuff in the past, it was all pre-populated, click through, drop down menus. This year, everything required like explanation. And so all of that is taking a significantly larger amount of time than it has in the past. And so I know that's one of our grumblings that we've been talking about as superintendents and stuff as well. A couple other things to just add to my report though, would have been Tuesday night. We had the Rural School Advocates of Iowa's annual meeting. It's where we worked through and discussed legislative priorities for the year. For the most part, there was some pretty good discussion. A lot of the legislative priorities matched what our legislative priorities would be as well, especially when it comes to preschool, funding public schools, keeping local choice or decisions there, going after ESAs or ensuring that public schools are the priority versus private schools as well. All those things were the top of the list there too. So that was a good meeting. Coming out of that meeting, we also had a leadership meeting following, and I was appointed to be the chair of the leadership committee for the next year at least. So that'll be an interesting and fun journey too. But other than that, that's about all I got for right now.
So with the reporting stuff, like, who do you guys get to complain to about that? Like,
Director Snow, the director of the Department of Ed, will be at our AEA meeting in December. I will make sure that I have a good amount of notes to be able to share with her. I have emailed her in August about some other things and legislative concerns and things like that. I've yet to hear back on those. And so, yeah, who we complain to, I mean, we know who we can send stuff to or try to. We do have some reps from the DE that come to our AEA superintendent meetings and stuff as well. So I try to funnel some stuff through them. And that was one of the things that we expressed a concern of at that last meeting of, first and foremost, you didn't tell anybody that the reports changed. So, normally you take care of your hierarchy things and you're trying to work through stuff, and if you budget, leave yourself a few days before you have to submit them, you're usually sitting really okay, because it's going to take you one day to get a lot of those reports done. This year was going to take you 2 to 3 days, so those that hadn't gotten started on it definitely needed to get started right away. And so we made sure that we expressed that and shared that. Whether it made it up the chain, I'm not too sure, but yeah, we're trying to make sure we're talking about it. That was another one of the things. When we met with the AEA chief the other day, he asked what are some of the issues or items that he could bring to his meeting that he has with the director of the Department of Ed every week. And I said, you know, my biggest thing is when are the things gonna start coming off the plate? Because it feels like every year more and more is added on. We're having to track more and more. Laws are changing that are putting more on everybody else's plate and I said the worst part is, a lot of them are done with good intentions. They're trying to work to address an issue that may be present, but the way they're addressing it is just making more paperwork, more work for the people that it's not impacting. So example of that would be like the attendance law, having to track all of that. I mean, we've been sitting in a pretty decent place, but I know that there are districts that every day they're sending out 10 to 12 letters. Their cost of just mailers have gone out through the roof because they are notifying parents when they hit those 6 absences and stuff, and it's hitting to be that time of year that a lot of letters are going out now, so it's an additional cost. And then you're trying to figure out who's, like you had asked last night with any of that new reporting, now who's managing that? Who's gonna be in charge of those things is a thing to worry about. So that's just one example of one law that's already creating headaches that hopefully they'll get readdressed this next year.
Okay, with
Yes.
those letters, are we legally obligated to send it via postal, or can you send it to their email address with a?
So right now, it's supposed to be certified letter, or it's supposed to be sent via postal.
Okay.
That is one of the things we've definitely expressed, that let it be via email with
Because
a
you can
read
always do a
receipt.
return receipt
Exactly.
or encrypted or whatever, so.
And that way, and so the good news is, I feel this year with especially some of those things that seem to be like, they were oversights. They didn't think that it would have created as big an issue as it did. From what I'm hearing and seeing, a lot of our legislators are open to making sure that they go back and get some of those things amended. But until they are, we're sitting there trying to get through it, so. But, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for the update. Okay, come up to my favorite time, and that is scheduling the next
Don, just a couple
meeting.
questions here.
Yep, sorry.
A couple months ago, I asked, or was asked by citizens to see if we could do something with land, what was south of the flagpole there on that lot where the school was.
Yep.
Did we ever get anything accomplished with the city or anything on so they could put their pavilion there?
So I know
Or
it
we
sounds.
are not interested in doing
Yep,
so?
that's it. And reaching out to Trudy, I believe Pavilion and stuff has already kind of been put in
It will
motion.
be in the
to-
city park.
Yeah, to the
Okay,
city park. What some of the other things that I'm working on though too is trying to find some groups that we can work to maybe get some of that addressed. So whether that's working with our FFA kiddos to have a project that they could collaborate with community members to decide what could go there, and things like that. So I'm trying to work on being able to get it to be a group that could kind of spearhead a project that could make something happen. So, so those are some of the things that I'm working on to try to look at. I know that that's something that we gotta come up with a plan for. We don't just want it to continue to sit there and be a
I
vacant
would
lot.
suggest
so.
maybe we need to throw that to the buildings and ground, or maybe even the task force, because I believe that was one of the things they were gonna be charged with when they were close to being done, was what do we do with that property?
Okay, yep.
And maybe that's, we hold on to it for 5 years, but, you know, it's sitting there generating nobody any tax dollars at this point. And I do just want to say thanks for getting out and getting that fence taken down. It's looking a lot better as it already is, as he's starting to work on that, so.
Yeah, no, Shane's.
Appreciate
he's been
getting
doing
that
everything he
taken
can to-
care of.
Yeah.
Now we can go to your favorite part of the meeting.
Okay, scheduling our next events, my favorite part. So special meeting for the junior high basketball, I think that one, can we just do like a luncheon,
Yeah.
5-minute daily whoppy on that one? So, you know, per policy, 10 days from, so when was it posted?
So it would have been posted, I gotta check if it was either Monday? Okay.
Okay, so Thursday next week, we can take it down, right?
Yep.
Okay, so, and then practice starts next
Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
So with that, could we just do what we did similarly this summer, and maybe we can't because it wasn't on the agenda, can we just grant him permission to issue a contract for that position by November 1st, you know what I mean, like we did in the summer? Are we able to do that? Do we want to do that?
And for me, it's fine if they retro it back. Like if the person,
I'm just, because it wasn't on the agenda to do, but we could put it, I mean, it's something that came up we didn't know about at the time, but we could just extend him the opportunity to grant that contract within the rules that we already have. If you didn't want to try to get a special meeting once you have this back.
well, I mean, because it's not on the agenda for this meeting, it kind of has to go to a special one, right?
So it's, I think so. I just want everybody else's
Yeah.
thoughts, okay?
So I still think we do just a quick Zoom meeting
Okay.
over
Yep.
lunch sometime, just to get that stuff done and get it going. But I mean, like,
Well, we can move forward with the rec to hire, that we can do all that ahead of time, so we're ready to go.
okay, so I would say that Thursday, let's shoot for that.
Okay.
And get that done.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, work session, November 5th, 7 PM.
Good old election day, polls close at 8.
Should we do it at 9 PM?
Do what?
Have our thing, and then we can look at the results.
At 9?
Yeah, it's just an election party.
9 PM,
We can make sure we adjourn, we can adjourn by 9, and
Yeah, like some of us have to work with children the next day.
I think I'm taking that next day off.
So we do have a need for a work session.
I mean, right now, there probably wouldn't be, I am not seeing any immediate things that would be pressing. The only one would be, I did give Brett from Garland that as a potential option of a day that he could present some of the information on roofing, but if we were to forego that work session, we would just move that to November then. So, I'm fine.
Well, so the other thing is like, just, you know, if things play out differently, I think it would be good to have a meeting probably the next,
We could do like a week after.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're kind of, you know, if whatever happens, then you're going to, you know, we got a lot of
That
stuff to
makes
figure
sense.
out, and
Yep.
and there needs to be a lot of effort for the stuff that we know is immediate needs that we need to get people working on and quotes and all that stuff, just for contingencies on some things.
Mhm.
So you're just gonna have it on the 12th then?
Right.
Yeah, we could look at the 12th. And say anything
No, I'm looking at-
football wise?
I'm looking at the schedule. There's
12?
nothing on the 12th.
Okay. Okay, we could do that.
So you want to move that from the 5th to the 12th,
Yes.
all right? Same bat time?
7 o'clock.
Yep, 7 o'clock.
Nobody knows what bat time is anymore. You're a good man.
Same matching.
It'd be. Yeah.
We can take a road trip.
Got to take a school bus.
Okay, all right, is everybody okay with that? All right,
And then a regular meeting on the 21st.
That's also the second day of ISB.
Come back.
Yeah, he'll be coming back from the convention.
it's the school board boot camp.
School board.
Yeah, so
Is the junior high match
I
that
think it's
night
on
too?
Tuesday. I think he moved it. I looked at Dyke's calendar to find it, because I don't think it's on ours yet. They have
Wrestling.
GR on Tuesday.
So they have that crazy like mini tournament where there's like 300 matches in an hour.
The junior high wrestling
oh,
on Tuesday the 19th, is what I have it down as.
Oh, yeah, it's not on there yet.
Normally it's that Thursday, so we like get back from convention, work the wrestling meet, and then go to the school.
It's a lot of moving parts.
It is.
It's intense too.
Man.
And there's a lot of kids.
So we just can't make that meeting very late. I have a 6:30 AM flight the next morning.
Yeah.
So quick.
Yeah, okay. We'll keep that agenda.
We'll have the work session go late and the school board meeting go
You know,
short.
you just come to the meeting and make a motion to adjourn at 8 PM.
No matter how far.
Right at the beginning, yeah.
Exactly.
So both of them at 7 PM, right?
Yes.
Okay, the clock is telling us that we should have a motion to adjourn here.
You can move it earlier because we have that flexibility.
Motion by Matt, second by Dick, to adjourn per the clock's chimes. Here we go. Proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you, Christine.
No, it's like.
We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon.
Take care, thank you.
I hope you're going somewhere fun.
These tables are